This is totally against the way I usually work, but I'm going to do something completely unscientific. I picked up my phone and filmed my TV when there were slow motion shots of the runner's feet and landing during the second half of the marathon races at the Paris Olympics. Why I did it? Because I thought, wow, there are lots of runners out there who needs to see this. So this is by no means a statistically valid analysis of the top runners' landings. It is also likely that some of the runners changed their landing depending on where they were in the race, how fast they were running, how tired they were, and so on. We will, for example, also see a runner who lands more midfoot on one foot and had a heel strike on the other foot. But before we look at the video from the Olympics, it's good if we agree how to define the different ways of landing. Here's how biomechanists from World Athletics defines it. It is the part of the shoe that touches the ground first that defines the type of landing. It is not about how you load your foot or whether it's an overstride or not. It is therefore perfectly fine to touch the ground first with the heel, but you have time to move the body forward so much that when the force is applied to the foot, the load is more midfoot or maybe even forefoot. And this means that even runners who clearly put down their heel first can experience is at more midfoot, or, which is not that unusual, as they are running exclusively on their forefoot. You should therefore not listen so much to runners who say that they themselves have a midfoot or a forefoot strike, especially as you have more sensitivity in the forefoot than in the heel, which means that the slightest load there can feel like you're only running on your forefoot. Well, anyway, this is what it looked like during the races. Yes, I know. It's not always clear if some of the landings should be categorized as heel, midfoot or forefoot. And I'm sure there are some of you who think that I'm wrong once or twice, but I did my best. And my point with this whole video is to demonstrate to anyone who thinks that elite runners are never heel strikers that this is really not the case, but that it is a wide variation of how people land, and that heel striking is actually quite common. And it is also no real connection between how they land and how good a runner they are. You will also soon see figures from a study from a World Championship that shows even more clearly how elite marathon runners land. Then you'll realize that which part that touches the ground first when you land is not as important as many people think. And above all, it doesn't seem to be very important to land midfoot or forefoot, as millions of runners and running coaches say on social media. Where you put your foot down in relation to your hip and the center of mass and how it moves just before impact is extremely much more important, especially when it comes to marathon running. Now, you may think that I am drawing too far-reaching conclusions from two short sequences that I have selected, and that is true. But I'm not saying this based on these two sequences alone. As I said, there are of course more reliable statistics on what it looks like at major championships. Like at the World Championship in London 2017, when the landings looked like this at the last of the 4 measuring stations set up by World Athletics. Only 3% landed on the forefoot, about 70% on the heel. And for the top 8 runners, it looked like this the 4 times the landings were studied. Here we also see that it changed for the fastest woman, Chilimo, who switched from heel strike the first 2 laps to midfoot strike the last 2. It is also worth noting that all the medalists on the men's side, as well as the one who came in 4th, all landed on the heel all 4 times it was checked. And again, this video is not a scientific study of landings at the Paris Olympics marathon race. This is just my way of addressing the fact that I every week hear runners say that all elite runners always run on their forefoot or possibly midfoot, and that it is always, in all circumstances, bad if the heel touches the ground first. It can absolutely be bad. If you run more slowly with a clear heel strike, you probably have an overstride. But it is mainly your overstride that is bad, not that your heel touches the ground first. Learn the difference. Bonus facts. Although Sifan Hassan really deserves her gold medal, I cheered a little extra for the bronze medalist Helen Obiri, as I have met her and seen her train and compete in Kenya. I actually use videos I took of her and Faith Kipyegon, who in Paris won gold in the 1500 meters for the 3rd consecutive Olympics, in my online course on efficient running technique. You know, the course that works like this.
Learn efficient running technique with Fredrik Zillén. Just log in and get started. 4.5 hours of video lessons. Bring your coach with you in your headphones. 6 audio lessons, a total of 2.5 hours.